Hello everybody, it's the Historical Gamer once again, and today we are returning to Burden of Command, an upcoming turn-based war game that puts you in the shoes of leadership in World War II, leading companies and things like that, through conflict while dealing with the interpersonal relationships and the burden of command of being an officer in World War II. This is episode number 12 in the series, so I don't need to go through sort of the whole rigmarole of everything that this game does. Other than to say it's sort of this hybrid between a choose-your-own-adventure RPG and also an advanced squad leader game. Now, in episode 11, in our last episode, we were continuing the fight for Casablanca. We were fighting the Vichy French, and we were trying to drive them back and drive them out of the war in Operation Torch. In the first two parts of this particular fight, we pushed, I think, most of the way through most of these objectives. We did have some tanks show up, but then they promptly ran out of gas because Torch was an absolute disaster of a operation in terms of doing things cleanly. But yeah, so we've got tanks, but they've run out of gas. We've pushed most of the way through all the objectives, but our own troops are becoming disorganized, strung out. Officers are beginning to lose touch with their men. We have lost one platoon commander to I think what was a grazing injury, but he is out of the fight. And so we're trying to keep the momentum going. We've been given one option from our CO, if you will, to say, like, are you sure you don't want to just pause the assault? But we are continuing to push forward. We've taken more casualties than I would like, but still not too many to prevent us from winning a decisive victory. But we are definitely seeing a large battle that we will need to clean up how we fight it before we get to the Germans, because I think, especially given the MG42 and the range that weapon has, the tactics I'm using here against the French may not work so well if we're up against 88s and MG42s. But that is a concern for another battle. For now, we are still learning and we are still fighting the French, and I will stop my rambling because we've been going for 2 minutes. So let's go ahead and jump into the Battle of Casablanca and see if we can wrap this thing up. This game does come out on April 8th, so coming out very, 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 very shortly. Yeah, that's all I got for you. Let's go ahead and turn this back over to myself. Recorded while we were playing. Then you can rally next turn. And you'll have two squads up near the barracks. That does it for Wilson. And then Dearborn's squad's been pretty much, or platoon's been pretty much AWOL this whole damn fight. I gotta try and get them further forward or do something. I mean, Dearborn's been wounded, so that doesn't help, but no. Can you rally yourself? Give you better movement next turn. Stalled a little bit for lack of initiative and more or less a disorganized situation right now. But I'm hopeful that we can still win this thing. Pretty much gotten all the objectives. It's just a matter of
Bully, give it to him.
Alright, is that enough? Do you have enough movement points to rally these boys? You do. Good. Alright, so Wilson's squad, their platoon's not going to do anything really, but I've got two good-shaped squads here north of the barracks, which I believe is the last objective to take. Alright. Rally these boys. Alright. Rallied Dearborn's platoons, or squads, some of them anyway. To that end, we can keep the acting lieutenant of Dearborn's squad here. We'll rally him too. And then hopefully we can bring the entire squad forward in the next few turns to... In fact, we could even press him now. To get him moving sooner. Don't really have anything for my tanks to do. Let's move our mortars up. I don't know if this actually matters, like in terms of what the range is. I really need to figure out, I know I've said this already, but I really need to figure out how to use those heavy weapons, that heavy weapons platoon more effectively. Okay. He's kind of bogged down here with these two squads overwatching him. But I think Wilson... Well, I guess we don't know what else is at the barracks. If the barracks has considerable additional enemy units, we may not be able to... do much with them. Once again, I'm moving the whole damn squad rather than just my particular character. Just my captain. All alone, getting up there to the boys in this wood line here so I can help them overrun these enemy troops to the north, which isn't really a pressing issue. That's not where the objective is, but... Alright. Let's do... Wilson. So bolster these boys.
That's bully. Come on.
Move them up into this building.
Stay close,
Yep.
you
They're going to
dog.
detect another enemy unit. They're going to get surprised and hit in the flank. They take stress, but they don't actually take any damage. Where'd they get shot from? I don't even see where the bad guys are.
There's no stopping now.
All right, boys, move into that building. Get your cover.
Ours or theirs?
You are in cover, so you will take some... Ah, fuck. We took a casualty. We're still within the realm of a major victory, but... Yeah, sometimes to close with the enemy, you need to take some loss. You need to be willing to take some casualties. And I'm hoping that next turn Wilson can break these troops in front of him. Okay, can you get a little bit closer? Dearborn's men are so far back. Ow! Fucking artillery. I've never dealt with those guns to the south. Can you... hit the bad guys from here? Doesn't look like it. Okay, so Dearborn's acting whatever. Stern's MGs can't really do anything still. Maybe if they get up on this high ground, they can see more. There's an easy way to check. It's from the line of sight tool, but I don't think I had like that. These tanks can't hit the enemy guns there. No, they can't. Okay. Can you suppress these guys at all? They have the high ground, so that's not ideal. Press. Shoot again. Okay.
Suppressive fire.
All right, so I think we've got probably 2 more turns until this thing wraps up, unless there's some unforeseen stuff that's going on here. Let's see here. All right, let's try and hit. I don't really have any reason to do this, but I'm just going to keep pounding these guys. Maybe it'll weaken them, inflict casualties, prevent them from being as effective against me when I go ahead and attack them next turn. No real reason to be attacking these guys in the north. They're kind of out of the way, but oh well. So we should, I think by 13, maybe 14 or 15, we'll win this battle. And that. A runner hurries over. Battalion has sent a bazooka team over to deal with the French tanks, or rather, 1 tank. Are there any French tanks left? I thought I destroyed them all. Unless there's something to the south. Alright, let's go ahead and keep hitting these enemy troops.
Fire!
Okay. In the north, we're going to bolster these guys. And then lead an assault. And the assault didn't go through. So, are my odds really that low? Do I have to try and bolster again? Okay. There you go. Got him. So do they have 3 tanks? I'm kind of confused. Or is it just, it doesn't realize that we've already defeated them? Okay. I'm guessing there's enemy troops up here to the north too, but we'll hold that in place. We'll take charge here with our captains, 1 remaining point. Someone's going to shoot at me.
Down!
Damn it, 2 casualties? From where? I'm still inside the 9%, but only just. Alright, that was one of Wilson's squads, so let's see if he can, well, it's not really his turn, so I guess we'll Oh, shoot. Did I end someone? I'm wondering if I ended the wrong squad. Damn it. Hey, our tank hit the enemy troops in the open. Okay. Yeah, so we finish up that squad. I didn't mean to do that. All right, let's rally here.
Duncan,
Or I did
I'm
bolster.
counting on
My
you.
bad. Move these guys up. There's no cover here, so they're probably going to get... Oh, they're going to get shot from the flank. 7 suppression. 2 casualties. God damn. Alright, so they're going to be frozen there. What do we look at now? 8% casualties, so basically any further casualties will prevent us from having a major victory from a manpower point of view, which we have not yet had a battle where we didn't have a major victory from the men's point of view. Okay. Alright, let's do Dearborn. Not a great chance of success here. So let's strafe him first, or suppress him first. Why is that going to be 2? Alright, press. I can't press, damn. I must have pressed him last turn. Alright, well I guess that means just bring up these other troops. I'm a little nervous to bring these into the open. They'll probably get shot, but we'll see. No, I guess they don't. These guys are moving down the main road, down south toward the objective. They'll move across the open. I still don't know where these bad guys are down here. We know there's someone who was shot up this squad, but we don't know where. Okay. All right. Can we do... If we bolster here, can you charge anybody? Both of them are going to have bad odds. Pretty good odds to suppress the enemy. So we'll do that. We'll shoot back. Take a little bit of suppression damage, but we did inflict some casualties on the enemy as well as stress, so they're fully suppressed now. So that should make our assault next turn go a little bit better. I think we've still got Stern left to do some stuff. So Stern, mortars are back here. Can you see anything? Can you order any artillery drop down on the enemy? Not really. I mean, you can, but not the enemy I care about. Not there either. I really need... It would be nice. One of the things I don't fully grasp is if this game has any sense of elevation for line of sight. Well, it does have elevation. That's not what I mean. But like for a mortar unit or a machine gun unit, if I put them in a... Like, and I put them in a building, do they get an elevation advantage? I don't know the answer to that. Anyways, 7 turns left. All right, bolster here. Pretty good chance of success, I think. The captain is just leading assaults on enemy positions that are isolated away from the objective. But clearing off our flank, in theory. Also, did it say something about a bazooka team showing up? I think it did a little while ago, I think. Are they like at the edge of the map back here? They are. Alright. And they're part of Wilson's squad, apparently. I don't know what I'd do with him at the moment, but they are back that way. Bolster to give him a little bit more range. And push south. Okay. Officer. I'd like him to get somewhere where he can actually call down artillery. Wilson needs to rally his boys.
Go slow.
So they get their morale back. Okay. Can they be pressed? Because I can't, these guys, their morale is bad up here, so maybe the troops to the south can be pressed. Decent chance of attacking and overrunning that infantry, but it fails. Nonetheless, doesn't hurt anything. Okay, we got these troops in the south here bolstering and potentially doing some stuff. They're maybe trying to come in on our flank. I'm not really sure. Let's try... Nope. Nothing there. Nothing doing there. Can the... Captain's already used his points. We've got at least a 50-50 chance, so why don't you try and assault there? Come up over the ridge. Probably get a reaction shot against you, but hopefully after you've destroyed the enemy troops there. Successfully took that objective. Alright, can you make it to the last objective? You can! Nice! You seize the barracks. The French stage a fighting withdrawal, no doubt preparing a counterattack. We're not in top shape, Lieutenant, Sergeant Grant says after he hurries over to confer. There's not enough medics for the wounded. Trying to go after the rest of the French feels like hunting for glory. Continue the scenario and mop up the French. End the battle. Scenario ends with a mission major victory. Loyalty +2. Yeah, I don't need the extra prestige. Let's just end the battle. The French are beaten today. That is what matters. You give the order to consolidate. There's palpable relief from Grant and the others as the messengers go out. Captain Lamb is KIA, which we knew. And Dearborn is a minor wound and will return. Okay. You consolidate the company inside the military camp. The injured are carried into the French hospital, where local doctors and nurses seem surprisingly willing to help. The dead are laid in the shade. With the base secured, you move readily from squad to squad, preparing for the inevitable French counterattack. Lieutenant Stern sets up his machine guns overlooking a stretch of wall. It isn't long before he starts yelling for a medic. You find him staring at the front, at the form of a girl in a blue dress laying under the shadow of a tree. She would seem asleep, almost peaceful, if it weren't for the bloody ruin where her legs were. Oh, boy. I don't believe in hell, but here I am, Lieutenant Stern says through clenched teeth. Okay. Wilson acquires caution, combat fatigue, realism. Okay. Get a burial detail out that way. Despite the beds, no one can rest. The streets echo with sporadic gunfire. That afternoon, a dozen tanks arrive, their crews eager to suck up the camp's fuel. Big 105mm howitzers are towed in next, and then 10 trucks full of supplies come creaking in. The men eagerly load up on ammo and eat hot chow in the French mess. The mood is anxious but confident. In the wee hours, a French car flying a white flag rolls off up to the gate. A French officer, a colonel no less, asks if he might speak to the battalion officer. It's just a single company of infantry. You send him and Dearborn along to Major Cloud. Okay. The French have capitulated on Armistice Day, 11 November 1942. Orders to occupy Casablanca without further fighting are pending. A messenger arrives with a handwritten letter from Major Cloud. French will surrender, treat them well, we'll be fighting alongside them as allies soon. Your initiative was excellent and judgment superior. It was only elsewhere that our results were lacking. You will almost certainly be called upon to write a formal after-action summary so that we may all profit from your company's success. At the bottom, just above his signature, are the words, "Send casualty lists as soon as practicable." Fortunately, that list will be a short one. The letters home to soldiers next of kin will be otherwise.
2 days later, the Germans invaded unoccupied France, whereupon Admiral Darlan, declaring Pétain a prisoner of the Axis and himself chief of state, ordered the cessation of hostilities.
Events moved swiftly. To Algiers came General Anderson, commanding the British First Army. General Giraud took command of the French land forces. United under General Eisenhower, they were ready to take the field. Once more, the tricolor, the stars and stripes, the Union Jack flew side by side.
News comes in. Good news for once. That afternoon, a ragged and dusty column of men wearing uniforms of desert drab tramp through the gates of the camp. Their rifles are slung on their backs. Some are angry, others confused, but they are all bone-weary. It is clear that none of these Vichy soldiers has any intention of fighting anymore. The man at the column's head, a senior officer by the looks of his sword, speaks to Major Cloud and his assembled battalion staff. Then, one by one, the haggard riflemen file past and let their rifles clatter into a swiftly growing pile. Ammo pouches, helmets, and other gear get their own little stacks, and those will be sorted and returned to a French armory in due course. So it's finally over, Stearns remarks, as you and your platoon leaders watch the ceremony of out the window of a temporarily assigned barracks. With grim satisfaction, he adds. And that means we can stop this dancing around and start fighting the real enemy. I wouldn't be so keen to get to grips with Jerry if I were you, Wilson replies, his attention only half fixed on the going-on outside. His craggy features draw taut as he talks. They were tough bastards last time, and they'll be damn well haven't gotten soft since. Dance with the Krauts before you're ready, and those jackboots of theirs will stomp you into Wiener Schnitzel. Wiener Schnitzel? Sergeant Grant asks quietly. Hot dogs, Lieutenant Stern replies. I fear that I'm actually in agreement for once, Dearborn says in evident half-joke. Concerning this brush with war, our first take of battle has, well, let us be frank, gentlemen, at times it has bordered upon disaster. We don't learn the lessons the last few days have been so kind to teach us then. Dearborn shakes his head sadly. He doesn't have to elaborate, you know exactly what he's talking about. Okay. We've been flirting with defeat. I don't know if we've been flirting with defeat. We beat the French, we'll beat the Krauts. We beat the Krauts in 1918 too, Wilson replies sourly, and it cost us so much blood and so much horror that we were all blind to what came after it. He shakes his head. That's not the kind of victory worth winning. I don't know, Wilson. The Nazis are a little bit different. Anyway. So things will be different this time, Stern insists. We've learned lessons since the last war, and besides, his voice fills with an unshakable determination. We know that we're fighting for justice. God is on our side. I'm sure the Germans believe that they have God on their side too, Dearborn answers darkly. And after what happened to Captain Lamb, I fear that they might have a point. They got buckles stamped to say Gott mit uns, Lieutenant Wilson says. And that don't mean they've only got one glove. I'm just going to ignore the grousing for now. When there's no response from you, Dearborn, 2 falls silent. The disarming continues. The discarded rifles become a pile. The French officers retain their sidearms, though a bit of diplomacy. Say, Stern says tentatively, the barest quiver of anxiety in his voice. How did it happen anyway? Captain Lamb, I mean. One of our own sentries shot him by mistake. Wilson nods. It happens sometimes. It's nobody's fault. I mean, I would argue it was the sentry's fault for not challenging him. For a moment he seems about to continue, but he doesn't. Nothing else to say. Nobody does. The clack of rifles being sent on the ground becomes a mournful cadence that wafts through the open window. Some of the French soldiers, on the other hand, seem happy. Those don't wear anger in their eyes. Either way, they stagger off for hot food and a long sleep now that the burden is lifted. A letter, Dearborn says at last. One of us ought to send a letter to his wife, his widow, a few words of condolence, of comfort. She's entitled to more than a War Department telegram. He takes a deep breath. It would only be proper. Wilson gives a little cough and everybody looks his way. He had known the captain the best and the longest, but the old man shakes his head. No, I can't do it. I'm no good with a pen. Wilson turns to you. So do the others. Your grasp for words to define your company commander, your predecessor as company command. Now, you suppose you try to imagine the words that would console the widow. You rack your brain. How do you distill a man down to a few sentences? How could you describe Captain Elliot Lamb? A shining example of what an officer should be. The thought echoes in your mind. The others give you space to think. As the last of the French soldiers discard their rifles, the words come to you. A pen and paper are waiting in your case. Mrs. Lamb, I regret to inform you. Okay, so I'm guessing this is the end of the initial North Africa campaign. I don't know if our unit continues through to the Algerian campaign. We did take quite a few casualties in that battle. Nothing decisive, but we do have 13 replacements. I do have some prestige to spend. First squad here took 2 casualties. If we do experienced replacements, it's 3 prestige each. Meanwhile, if I want to do that saves us experience, but it does cost us. So we can get that first squad back up. 4, jeez Louise. Combat fatigue also starting to become an issue for some of these units. They're at 359, so if I can do 2 replacements without dropping their current value. I can do 3 with these guys to keep them above 200, which is the 2-star that they started at. Same for here. So it will slow these units' progress on their stars, but where I am going to take a prestige drop to the next level down, I will spend, or where I'll take an experience drop, I'll spend prestige. So everybody's pretty much back to full strength with no impact to the number of experience stars. We don't have a lot to boost our own experience, though. I don't know what I can do with loyalty. I guess I can get more trust. Oh, making the rounds. I can make the rounds and reduce stress. So I can spend loyalty on that. We don't actually have a lot of stress in our units here. Combat fatigue I can't fully make go away. Well, you can, but it costs prestige. So we'll spend loyalty to get stress to go down. Leaves me with 9 loyalty and 2 prestige. Okay. So we can get an extra 25 experience for 1 unit. Is there anybody who'll move up to the next experience star by doing that? No. Okay. In that event, I don't know. What am I going to do with 7 loyalty, though? Let's just keep it. Okay. Probably don't have enough time here today to see what's next. So I think that's going to do it for this episode. Casablanca's done. I assume we'll move to North Africa and maybe Kasserine, but I don't actually know if our unit does move that direction or if we just go straight to Italy, so we'll see. But that's going to do it for today's episode. So I hope you guys did enjoy this look at Burden of Command, an upcoming turn-based war game with RPG elements. And I'm curious to see, now that we are the company commander, how things unfold. Until next time, however, this is the Historical Gamer once again saying thank you very much for watching. And until next time, I'm out. Bye-bye.